I'm guessing that this is probably the question which all of you would like to ask me, the one which all of you were looking for an answer for. And it was sent in by my good friend Taryn. And he said, do you say hello when answering the phone, or do you say the traditional ahoy? That's right, it's Q&A Sundays. My name is Ashley Green, the Mind Reader, and yeah, that was a genuine question from my good friend Taryn. You want to know the interesting thing before I crack on with today's episode? I actually recorded this episode already, twice, because I wasn't happy with the first time. And the second time I noticed that neither for two of those recordings that I had the microphone on. So it's my third time of recording today's episode just for you. So anyway, Taryn's first question, I don't know why he sent this in, but I thought it was funny, so we keep it. Do you say hello when answering the phone, or ahoy? To be honest, hello, I'm not a weirdo. But you know the interesting thing that I sometimes do? When I have someone call me, sometimes I like to play a little game. And you answer, good afternoon, Domino's Pizza. And then immediately, obviously, they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I got the wrong number. And then they hang up. And then they call again because, no, they did have the correct number. And you keep going and you keep being adamant that you are Domino's Pizza. And you can see how many times that they hang up and call back. I've managed to get it to 3 with one of my friends before. See if you can beat me and get it to 4. If you manage to do that, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. But anyway, on to the actual decent and nitty-gritty questions for this episode. So Ferdinand is a fantastic little mind reader who has just got into it, and he wanted to ask me about tarot cards. He didn't actually let me know what in particular he wanted to know about tarot cards, so I'll just wing it. Ferdinand, the pieces of paper with a bit of ink on, they've all got different meanings. Hopefully that answers your question, mate. Don't know what else to say, really. Tarot cards are something which I've recently really got into. I've had a fascination with them for years, and I've used them throughout for quite a while when I've been performing. But it's only really during the lockdown, I guess, that I've been researching all of the different meanings of the suits and the cards themselves. And I've done my first proper half-hour tarot reading the other day, and it actually went really well. I managed to pick up on quite a lot of information about the person, and I was talking about their past, and I gave them a lot of predictions, and they had a lot of questions about the future, which the tarot helped me answer. So yeah, a very fascinating tool. Of course, this is something which I'm still practicing, so if any of you guys want a tarot reading, let me know. I would love to be able to practice and hone my skills on you, and just ask at the end for a little bit of feedback. That would be fantastic. So Ferdinand, if you want to see a tarot reading, see what it's all about, drop me an email, let me know in the comments, or message me on any one of the millions of different social media platforms I'm on. So I had a really cool question as well, which came over from, I apologise if I'm not pronouncing this correctly, hopefully it's right. But it came over from a chap on Instagram, and I believe it's a Dahari, I think that's how it's pronounced. And he said, what is your favourite memory from your performances? I've got 3. I'll save the one which I like till last. So the first one was I was in Nando's. So how every good story starts, with a few of my friends. And one of my old school friends, Ben, his uncle is Mr. Maker. We're all sat there, and Mr. Maker comes in, sits down. I show him a card trick, and for those of you who aren't in the UK, Mr. Maker is on a lot of kids' TV. There's a TV channel called CBeebies, owned by the BBC, I think, and it's just aimed at children. And Mr. Maker is on everything. So yeah, he came into Nando's, showed him a card trick, and if you haven't judged by my previous videos, which I've put up on this channel, I do slightly weirder things. So instead of doing a typical magician card trick, I decided to get him to pick a card, stop my heart, and then the card was etched into my chest, because that's what I used to do. So yeah, done that, and then Mr. Maker bought us all Nando's, which was quite fun. Second really interesting story. This links into the one I'm going to tell you after, because the story I tell you after is actually how I managed to get this gig. So it was at this amazing gala dinner, and we were sat on the VIP table where all the performers were. and the performers were obviously me, an amazing Bollywood dancer. They had someone doing the food who was from Great British Bake Off, Chetna McCann, if you've heard of them, and an actor who's been in quite a few things, I think Holby City, if I remember from their talk they were in, various other things on TV, but I would guess they're most commonly known from their appearance in Doctor Who. They was one of the Doctor's assistants back in the day, and they're called Louise Jameson. This is like quite a few years ago, before I was born. They were on telly. So yeah, we was sharing the table, just having a chat, and it was great fun. Like it was so weird. Like there's some gigs you do and it just feels like a gig, it feels like a performance, but then there's others where it feels so relaxed, and it feels like you're almost not performing. It feels like you're there to enjoy the event as well, and it was one of those, and it was really nice. To be able to kind of experience both sides, to be able to perform, but also sit back and just enjoy the day. I love that. So we was all sat there on the table at the back, and there was the music going off, and we were just having a fun, having a dance, as we sat down on the table, and it was laid up really nice. This really nice looking white tablecloth over the top, and we had some red wine, and throughout dancing we just spilt it, and then all of our food and wine went absolutely everywhere and stained this beautiful looking tablecloth, and everyone had a look at us, and we didn't care, so we just laughed and carried on. But yeah, it was great fun. So that's something which always stands out in my memories, of just how down to earth these people are, and just it was just a fun gig to do. And the third and a really weird one. So it was when I was performing at the Margate Winter Gardens when I was younger. I think I was about 15 or 16 around about the time, and I was performing on stage. My act at the time was predominantly magic tricks, so I was doing a card trick, and it would vanish and appear inside an orange, and then I would finish on some Russian roulette trick. So I was doing that. It was all going well. And midway through my stage performance, I pulled out a knife to cut open an orange, and bang! Sliced right into my finger, and there was blood dripping down everywhere, all over me, all over my props, onto the stage. It was just drip, drip, drip constantly. Of course, with the adrenaline of being on the stage, I didn't really notice that had happened until I looked down. I was like, oh dear. But yeah, it went on everything, just cracked on as normal, but the stage was blood, everywhere. And afterwards, the worst part was I had to perform close-up after my set, so I quickly bandaged it up, sorted that out. But as I was going down the tables, going around them, I was doing tricks with elastic bands, and of course, elastic band, sliced open finger, bandage does not go well, elastic band pings off the bandage with a load of blood on into a lady's face. It just sounds bad, doesn't it, me saying this? I promise this isn't what happens at gigs anymore. Maybe this is why I moved over to mind reading, but I no longer go around flicking blood at people or spilling food and drink everywhere. I'm a normal person now, potentially. So yeah, that happened. But why it's an interesting story for me, and it's something that I like to think that there was a bit of blood which they didn't clean up on that stage, because the day after I was performing there for this award ceremony for kids who have done exceptional things in the area. There was a comedian, Russell Howard, and I like to think that during his set, during his performance, he walked onto that stage and he stepped in a bit of my crusty blood. I like to think that all throughout that evening he was just treading in the crusty remains of my blood on the floor. So hopefully that answers your question of my favourite performances. Probably not what you was expecting, but nevertheless, that's my favourite performances. And finally, as always, Mr. Samuel Wigmore has sent in, he's been very cheeky this week, he sent in 2 questions, although they kind of relate. I'll start with the first one. What are your top 3 magic books that have inspired your work? To be honest, there isn't really any, I don't think. Magic books, for the most of the time, it's just trick, 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 trick. More tricks. And there's not any of the deeper, more important stuff, in my opinion, and that's the stuff that I enjoy. So that was something which I thought was missing, and Aidan as well, and that is why we grouped together And we set up what's called the Successful Mentalist, or TSM for short. You can check out www.thesuccessfulmentalist.com. But that is where we talk about the deeper thoughts behind our art, behind what we do. We talk about all the things about how to make your performances more emotionally connecting, how to actually get business, how to get gigs, and all the other, and in my opinion, the more important things than just a magic trick. So for me, there isn't really any books that inspire me. There's great books to read. There's some books which are just fascinating, full of interesting ways which magicians do things. But for me, I like to learn the other stuff. And luckily for you, Sam, and for any other magicians watching this, we have a weekly podcast where we have all of this information go out. We have, regular books and all of that stuff, which you guys can check out. So if you're interested in that, check out The Successful Mentalist or search The Successful Mentalist podcast on your favourite podcast provider. Fun fact, today's episode, very interesting one, and if you are a magician, I know you will want to stop this episode and move straight over to listening to our podcast, because we have two very special guests. Today, on today's episode of the Successful Mentalist podcast, myself and Aidan, we're not sharing the tips, tricks, methods and techniques to improve your performance and business skills. We're letting two other people do it. You might know them because they're currently in Las Vegas. One of them is currently doing a fantastic show with the double America's Got Talent winner, Shin Lim. It is Colin Cloud and Chloe Cloud. They've both come on our podcast. They've shared an absolutely amazing amount of gold from their incredible brains. So that is a fantastic podcast, which I can assure you, if you're a magician, a mentalist, a mind reader, if you do it as a hobby, or if you're a fan of Chloe Cloud or Colin Cloud, then you're going to want to head over to the Successful Mentalist podcast and check that out, because it's live now. I'll put a link in the description as well to save you time, so you can just click below. But as for your last question, Samuel, it says, as for your stage persona, is there also anything else that inspires you? Day-to-day books, movies and music? Probably not in books, movies or music, but there are factors and things that I do. For example, I've had a strong fascination with tarot. Anything remotely psychic has fascinated me for many years. And as I said earlier, it's something which I'm still practicing a little bit more on. I'm doing readings, and I've done my first proper half-hour tarot reading the other day. So these are things which I like to incorporate into my performance, as well as pendulums, voodoo dolls, any sort of like witchcrafty sort of things. I like to incorporate into that. So I guess it's just, for me, I know what I enjoy. And what I enjoy is what I do, and that's all come now a part of my performance. I remember when I was younger, when I was about 15 or so, I would watch all of the psychic videos on YouTube I could find, all of the faith healing videos, all of the videos which James Randi put out exposing psychics, all of those things. I would watch them over and over and over, because the psychic community is something that fascinates me, and that's why I love tarot, palmistry, pendulums, all that stuff. I guess maybe that's what inspires me more than books, movies or music. Saying that, music's fantastic to add to your act, but I just haven't felt inspired, really. It hasn't forced me to come up with a routine or anything as of yet. I expect as the years go on, I'll probably find something which really does stand out to me. But as for the moment, it's just things I enjoy. Hopefully that answers your question, and hopefully to everyone else that sent in a question, that answers your stuff as well. Of course, I do these every week, these Q&A Sundays. If you haven't seen the other episodes, I think I've got 5 previous episodes if you want to check them out. But yeah, I do these every Sunday. If you want to send in a question for next Sunday, then all you have to do is leave a comment below with your question, or just message me on any of my social media platforms by searching Ashley Green Mindreader. As always, subscribe, because I've got some fantastic content coming on the way, and make sure to like the video because it helps out, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys. Bye.